So now let's go ahead and change, update our title to show internationalization, but using the
Okay.
translation ID. So we will go to layout, the top nav, and
So
right
that's where
here
the
is our
title
title.
is.
Yep.
Okay, so up there, we were getting that value dynamically. So we're not going to do that anymore.
No. What we're going to do is, so there's a couple ways we can hook in Angular Translate into these views. There's a directive and a filter, and then in code we could use the translate service.
Okay. A directive, a filter, or a service in code.
Correct.
Okay.
So right now I'm just going to use the directive. And you can use the directive actually in a couple different ways. You can just put it as an attribute on the HTML tag, and then the value inside of that element will have to be the actual key, the translation ID.
Okay.
Okay? Or you can...
And the key in that case would be the word title.
Right.
So it's just equals quote title quote?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could do it that way. So we could say title, quote, title.
It's probably case sensitive, right?
Yes, it is. So yeah, that's a good point to bring up. You might want to come up with a good naming convention that you want to use for all your translation IDs, so that's easy to identify.
Because
in
title
code.
could be used in a lot of places, I imagine.
Right. So what I've seen is people use all caps, or they might put in _ID in there so that you know it's more distinguishable.
Imagine you could also prefix it with something like the app or the module or something. Because, I mean, title could be like your title, it could be the title of an app, it could be the title of a book.
Right.
And you might have all these things in the same app, so you want to really make sure you've got some kind of namespacing.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you bring that up. And maybe it might be a little too early to jump into right now, but some of within those translation tables, so if we go back into the config JSON, we can actually, as you can see here, I'm doing it a little bit with the languages one. You can, have child objects, JSON objects. You can use those in a way of namespacing your translation IDs.
Gotcha.
And it supports, Angular Translate supports that you can add an extra tag in HTML that says, here's my namespace for this particular, we'll go back here. Or where were we? We were in
Top nav?
top nav, correct. So we could say, like, for this whole nav, we could say, I believe it's translate namespace, and then equals, and then the actual, like, prefix, so we could say
Gotcha.
nav, right?
So you could have a whole object called nav inside that file, and everything under that is that section.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we'll come back here, and then I could put all this actually under a nav, nav prefix, or nav namespace.
Right, with a colon, yep.
Right?
We're not going to keep it anyway.
No,
That's
we're
fine,
not.
yeah.
And actually, yeah, with a colon. Right, and then I could do nav.title, so then to go back to that, the way you would actually implement it in top nav again. I need to get used to the keyboard shortcuts in code, man.
You do, man, I'm telling you. Command PP.
Command.
That's what it is.
So then what you would do here, if you're using namespaces, you just do .title ID, and then...
Because you already said nav on line 2. So on line 4 there, we can just do dot.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to remove that right now, and
Yeah,
change it back to
namespace, too.
title, get rid of the namespace.
And all you have to do is put the namespace at a element above, like out, not just above, but like a parent
Yeah,
element.
whatever's like the container element
Gotcha.
that's holding that all, and it tells it, this is the
Okay.
context that's working.
It's going to bother me that that's back in the other file, so go back to the other file and get rid of the nav.
Sure.
Otherwise, we're going to forget.
Yep.
Command PP.
I'm going to try that next one.
Here we go. I'm going to convince you to use code with all the command strokes.
Yeah. All right, so we're good. So this matches title, make sure the app is running, okay? So just to see that it's actually binding, I'll add some extra text, so test.
Right, because it's the same right now.
And there we go. We can see it's binding to that translation.
So up here we got internationalization test. Now we get rid of test now. Or the other one. Just get rid of it again. Put it back. And it's there. Sweet. So let's go back to the code for a sec. All we did is add Angular Translate, add the module in to the modules. We added to the index.html, which the tool did for us.
Yep.
And then in the configure, we haven't added any code anywhere else other than here to actually set up translation. And then once you do this is a one-time setup. I assume every other place we want to go in our app, we just go to that HTML like you did top nav, and you just put that translate directive.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go do that now?
Let's do it.
For more of them? All right. So let's go back to the top nav.
We don't have a big app, so we can translate a few places.
Yeah. So, and I'll show some examples with using the different types that you can use, like the filter and the directive in
Okay,
the other
and we
area.
can talk about why one way use one or
Yeah.
the other.
So the way I go about it is I'm gonna like top to bottom, left to right, what I want to translate. So I know that's the title we got done already. We need this created by translated as well.
Okay,
So that's
is that also in the top nav?
Yep, it's right here.
It's not like I wrote this app.
No, it's not. So we would say translate, and then what's that key again? It's going to be, I think, created by underscore.
I think I have that file here too, so let me look that up and we can just look at the keys as we go.
Sure. Get rid
What's
of
the name of that
this.
file? EN-JSON? No.
And core config.
There's like way too many of these. Core config.
Let's see. And then come back to there. John Papa 1 just to test it, make sure it's binding.
Right, you want to something. That's why Spanish would have been a good one to start with, I guess, because we could actually see the differences. But
Right.
yeah. We'll just change it around as we go.
Yep.
Cool. So we got John Papa 1.
So we got that done. So I think that does it for the top nav.
Can you show me the top nav again? There's something curious about that for me. So in the top nav,
Oh, wow, that's really quick. I was not expecting that.
yeah, no enter, just Command PP. And then you go up here. Where did you just do that last one? Which line is it on?
Right here. So I'll
14?
undo what I
Okay.
did.
So
Added the translate tag. Oops. Created by. I keep doing that. And then remove this since I'm not binding to that anymore.
okay. So we just translated the caption. Okay, that was the key I was looking for. You translated that, but you also got rid of the data binding. So the
We could
binding
actually
expression's
leave it.
gone.
We could leave it. Because what it'll do is it'll at least by default bind to this at first and then
Okay.
override it with
So
that.
is that a good behavior to go along with? Meaning that, let's say the translations take a moment to come into play. Is it good to have that in there as a fallback until?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this way there would be a brief moment in time where it actually says the navigation text, which is on line 15, and then the translation kicks in and shows it.
Yeah.
So there would be a blink if it was slow.
Right. There is, so that's something that we can get to later on, I think, when we start talking about loading, instead of preloading our language files directly in the config
Right.
like this.
Because these are hard coding. I mean, we want to change them without changing all of our app.
Right. So when we get to that point where we want to do that,
Okay.
there tends to be, you can get that flash of untranslated content,
Okay.
and there's a way to solve for that. too.
FOUC, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So going back to translating everything or hooking everything in.
Okay.
So
Let's
we
make
did
sure I didn't
top
screw up your
nav.
top nav.
Should be good. Let's check back here.
I think you just typed something there. Go back.
Did I?
Nope, it was just a hover. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's good. I think that does it for top nav.
Okay.
We'll do the side nav bar now. So sidebar, we can see it's doing this ng bind HTML, and we need to, and this is based on the route that's being used, right? So we're looking at dashboard,
Dashboard
and
and
admin.
admin.
So what I would do here is I'm gonna change this to use translate directive, and we'll bind to the value of what that actually is coming in.
Okay, because you don't know what they're going to be.
Right.
So this means then that you're going to look up whatever value was bound, and that value has to be a key.
Correct.
So in that case, you're assuming then that any values that I pull out of this database, for example, that are there, I've also somehow got in my translate table.
Yes.
What if it's not in there?
Then it will show the translation ID.
Okay, so it'll show the word, whatever translation ID is, dashboard or whatever it is in this case.
Right.
Okay, which happens to be what we want anyway.
Yes. So if we go back to our translation table, you could see, like right here, I have dashboard and
Right.
admin already pre-configured. So then I'll go into the actual routes for each of those. And we're going to want to change this because it's going to bind to the value of this, and this whole piece right here isn't a key.
No.
It's not translation ID, so it needs to be just dashboard. So we can bind.
Because that's the key that you're using. That's what you're actually binding to?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so if we go Command PP, or go back to sidebar, that's what we want. So dashboard's going to show up as this value in here, and then translate will know, okay, let me go get that translation ID.
You could also have done r.settings.title, right? Because go back to the data and the route. So go to dashboard routes. So this one's got a title too. So we could have used that. So that way
Sure.
you could have the content, right? So that way you're not actually changing the content data. We're just not using it anymore.
Sure. You want to do that then?
Sure, let's do that.
Dashboard, and then sidebar.
Okay, so in here now we're
Change this
using
to
not the
be
title.
Title. Okay. And then,
And you change that to uppercase because it has to match the key casing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
so it looks like that's not working.
So let's look at that. We've got the translate from the title. R.settings the title. Let's go back to the guy. It might just be r.title. Let's go to the route. It's r.title. Yep.
There we go. So where was that again?
Command PP.
By the end of this session, I will have that down.
Okay, everybody's going to be
Second
saying
nature.
that. They're going to be saying that from home.
Command PP.
All right, so now this should work.
There we
Hey, look, we got
Boom.
dashboard and admin.
Sweet.
Sweet.
All right.
That was weird. So wait a minute, that's strange. So you just did dashboard in that one. Did you change the other one to say admin?
Well, no. So since admin, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Or does it just say that because
Well,
that
admin
was-
says it because it's already defined in the content of the admin route. So we'll go to that. Admin route is here. So since, this is
Oh, that
already
title was already capital admin.
There we go.
Okay, so it just happened to work.
It looks like you got a little typo in your
I
generator.
guess so, yeah. So admin, so what we did here is we used the title from data we already had. The route data that I have already has a title, and we use that as the key to the translation.
Yep.
Odds are that's not going to be a common place, meaning you're not always going to have the value that's bound is going to be a key in your translation.
Yeah.
So you might have to map it yourself, I imagine.
Yes.
Okay. We just got lucky here.
Yeah. All right. So that covers both top nav and the sidebar. So let's go into the content of dashboard to change.
Okay. See, I'm lazy. I would have just done admin.
You want to do admin? Okay.
Let's do admin start. Yeah.
All right.
We'll do the easy stuff first.
Sure.
Low hanging fruit.
So in here, admin's using this hot towel widget header. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's getting this admin title here.
Okay.
So we need to go into that widget, which is...
I think it's under widgets, isn't it?
Oh, yep. Good point.
That's where I keep my widgets, under widgets.
Good thing you know this app.
Yes.
So here is that title. That's where admin's coming up.
Okay.
So what we can do again here is just say translate. And actually this should just work as is because the title is going to equal that key, which is admin.
So that's interesting. So you don't have to say title, translate equals then the key value if the thing you're binding to in the value after it is the key.
Correct, yeah.
Wow. Cool.
That's nice. So there it is.
And it worked. Awesome.
So let's get this text.
I can't wait to watch you translate that to Spanish.
It's probably not right. I just used Google Translate for that.
All right.
Where was that now? So now we go back to the admin view where the content actually is. And the key, let's first actually get the key we want. And it's admin message. So I'm going to copy that. We'll go back in here. And right here is where we're going to put that.
Okay, so you're going to get rid of your hard-coded text, right?
Correct.
I guess you could leave it there, right? But
Yeah, you can actually. So we'll do that. Translate. And then we'll say equals the key.
admin underscore message.
Correct. Everything's still working good.
Okay. Just to prove that, get rid of the hard-coded there, the quick brown fox. Or just put something else there. Sweet. Perfect. All right, so admin's done. We got one page left?
Yeah.
Let's do
dashboard.
dashboards.
All right.
All right, so in here we've got lots of stuff that we want to edit. We've got the widget header probably again, right?
Well, we did that already, so that should work.
That's right,
as
because that's a
is.
directive.
Yep.
So it'll work for this one too.
So we have this, maybe the date we want to show in a different format.
What line are you on there?
This
Can't see
is
the
line
cursor.
10, sorry.
Okay.
So maybe we want to show the date in a different format.
Okay.
So we can translate, and I think it's just conference date or
Conference date.
Yep.
Yep.
equals conference date. Help if I was inside the quotes.
That does sometimes help.
All right. And then we have messages. So we could just say translate on there equals, I think it's just messages, right?
It is.
And then,
Oh, wait a minute. Now so messages is going to say 72 messages it said before.
right.
Now this is just going to translate to what?
So actually, let's go back to that. That's a point I want to talk about.
Because the problem I see there is how many messages are there?
Yes. So what we can do is there's a way to do variable replacement in Angular Translate.
Okay.
And you can do through message format pluralization as well. So notice how we're saying messages.
Yes.
So it's plural for when it's more than one. If it's one, you just say message, or you might say no messages when it's zero.
Gotcha. You wanted to say one message or two messages.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a little fun to do. I had some fun figuring this out, and I'm gonna.
Better you than me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up the exact syntax again.
So
offhand.
there you go.
So what we're using in here, so this is message count. So messages, it will just show messages if we do that right now, right?
Right.
So we're gonna, as you can see, we're losing the number.
Yep.
But let's say we want to use a number, and that's where I created this extra one called message count.
Okay.
This one's using message format, which is another library that can, it follows a standard for pluralization, gender, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it works is you have your particular variable key. So in this case, it's going to be the
That's
message
the value you
count.
bind to?
So that would be 0, 10, 72. You tell that you want to use pluralization against it, and then depending on what this value equals, you can bind to the actual messages, I guess, right?
Okay.
Messages that get shown for that. So in this case, if it's 0, and there's certain syntax, I'll show that actual page. I think I still have it up.
So this library is called message format?
Message format, yes. So it's following the standard ICU guidelines.
What's ICU? Internationalization.
I don't know.
Something, something.
Let's take a look at it. It doesn't tell you.
No idea.
All right. Enough of that.
I'm going to Google that.
All right. So it's following all that stuff, and it has a certain standard of format and syntax you should use.
International Components for Unicode.
There you go. It gives you examples of what it looks like and all that fun stuff.
Okay, so that's actually really, really cool, because then you can change the format of your messages. You're not hard-coded into just the value and the key value pairs.
Right. So let's take a look at the actual guide in Angular Translate that shows us how to do that. So we'll go to variable replacement. Where is that?
Up here?
Thank you. And so we've kind of already set up all this kind of stuff going on. This is the variable name that he's setting up here.
Okay.
And actually, no, here's the variable he's setting up. So he's saying translation data, the key is username, because that might change, right? He's saying so-and-so is logged in kind of thing.
Then we got translation values.
Translation values, which that's, yeah.
And then here we've got a message.
Greeting. So this is just straight up variable replacement. So actually, let's, not to jump around too much, but to show this just straight up without getting too into the message format
just
stuff,
put the
we should
number
show
and then
this
messages for now.
Yeah.
We can show pluralization and all that stuff afterwards. For now, let's just do, hey, how do I show 72 messages?
Sure. So we would add the 72 there for now.
Okay. And then we'll jump into replacement.
Yes. We want to show hot towel.
All right, so this is 72 now. Cool.
Yeah. All right. And then let's update Mike is logged in for now. So I believe that is translate equals logged in, right? Let's go back to that.
You're looking for the keys. Greeting.
So this one we're going to have to do it right now.
All right, so the greeting is going to take the value of name and just do is logged in. That seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So translate equals greeting. And then as we saw in the documentation here, we say translate value name.
So you have to tell it where the name comes from.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll go past that in. Value name equals, and we'll say Mike. Actually, we'll say John to show that it's different.
So translate values.
So this, one thing to point out here, you use translate value and then the name of the actual interoper, I don't know how to say that word,
Interpolated?
Interpolated. Interpolated.
It's too big a word for me usually.
That's the one you're interpolating on.
Okay. You're examining it.
Yeah.
You're looking at it.
So this has to match that.
Okay, so
What-
name
what
just
you
happened
put
to be
in
what we
here.
called it. Okay.
Yeah, has to match what you're going to put out as the attribute.
So it's translation dash value dash, and then the thing after that is whatever your value you're binding to is.
Correct.
Okay.
So then we'll come over here, go back to hot towel, and you can see John isn't logged in.
Okay.
Even though the inner text is here, Mike.
Gotcha.
So we know it's actually changing to use that.
Perfect.
All right, so we got that one done. So now we can have some fun with the table headers here. So we could say translate like this as the directive again, which we've been doing. And I believe I have it like that, right? First name.
Yeah, because that must be the key.
Yeah. Then we can show, again, translate, but the key being passed in like this, which, again, we've seen already.
You wouldn't do this normally. You'd be consistent.
Correct. And then we could use the filter. So the filter works like any other Angular filter. You give it the translation ID, which we have here, which is age,
Okay.
pipe, and then translate.
Okay. So the first one's using the directive. The second one's using the directive with the value directly. The third one's using a filter.
Yes.
Okay. And you said there's a service too, but we'll get to that later.
Right. And so for this one, I'm just going to use translate again too.
Okay.
The directive.
And again, I'd pick one.
Yes. I'm just demonstrating.
Right.
And we can see
Where do they show up?
age
Those
is
are the
not
column
showing up,
headers,
though.
right?
Right.
What do we do with age? Let's go look. Our age is called age.
The problem is we need to put quotes around it, single quotes around it.
Ah, yeah.
That way
Otherwise,
it
it's
knows.
evaluating the value of age.
Yes. Which
And we
is
don't have a
nothing.
key. Yeah, exactly. Be undefined.
Yeah. And there we go.
Sweet.
I think
All
that
right.
just about does it for all of.
So that's all of our content. We got the widget header already. You did all three of these, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you get Castle Resort up here?
No.
Do we have to do that one?
Well, that's a place, right?
It's a place.
Would it be translated to another language?
Not that I know of. Probably normally, but I have no idea how you translate Neverland in other languages.
Yeah.
So let's just roll with it.
Yeah. Something else we can actually do, which will show the translate service, is these messages here.
Right. And we could also do the loading if we wanted to.
Yes.
But I think we've got an idea of how to do most of these now. We've done most of the app.
Yep.
That sounds pretty cool.
All right. So I guess now we're ready to add another language, and we'll add Spanish then, right?
See.
See.